Hello guys, welcome to my channel. As I've told you in my review video of the new version of the Infernal Dwarves army book, I've been able to get an early access on of the book, which gave me the opportunity to play a game before the release and to be sure that I can give you a battle report coming along with the army book review, which is always nice for you, because if I'm if I were you, I would be quite happy to not having read the book and asking myself too much which unit can do what now, but just checking a battle report and an army book review. I think it's quite a good way to discover the new rules of the Infernal Dwarves in this new version. So this is the list I built for this test. I kept my Prophet on the Great Bull of Shamrock because I love the model. And I'm starting to feeling more comfortable using him, to be honest. I kept my Commissioner as well, also love the model. I think he's pretty resilient, not great damage output, to be honest, but still decent, quite mobile and very resilient. So I like also the role of this guy in my list. I really was excited to test the new Lamassu with the Dragon Staff. Still pretty cheap, offering 2 additional spell, maybe 3, depending on my opponent's choice, as you know, of the army book rule. I won't tell you again all the rules that change. I covered that in my army book review, so please check that video maybe before the battle report. I think it would be wise. So yeah, Dragon Staff, I think it's a very good tool in the Infernal Dwarves new version, because basically you have additional ways of getting a reroll to wound with flammable token that you can give with the hereditary spell. So basically you can cast an hereditary spell and then use Dragon Staff to have reroll to wound on the breast weapon. It's always pretty decent, and it's worth mentioning that in this list I have 2 breast weapon flaming that could use this synergy, which is quite interesting. I wanted to have an additional chaff just to test. I mentioned several times the combo between Vassal Conjurer in a cheap version with a unit of Vassal with a Relentless Company, just to send him as chaff with a movement 15. I think that was worth a test. A bigger unit of Vassal Levies, discussed a bit about that with Benji from France. We discussed a bit about the usage of Vassal Levies. He mentioned to me, you should try the slight bigger unit with full options, so bows, shield, spear. It's still less than 400 points and pretty decent. Can give flammable token, incendiary token from range, but also not bad in combat because of the flaming standard that you can use. So pretty decent. Then we got 20 Vassal Levies with a Relentless Company banner on full command as well. Still pretty cheap, second scoring unit. And my third scoring, I wanted to try out the cheap version of Citadel Guard, just with Musician Champion Pistol. It's still 15 bodies, 3 up armor save, parry, some pistol shots. Not too bad for 330, and also scoring unit that can be a bit more independent because of the leadership 9. That might be the problem with vassals. I like the fact that my Prophet of Shamrock can be pretty independent, and the fact that now I have like 700 points in vassals. I still need to consider to be within 24 total of these guys, which is still reachable, so to say, because of the champion. You get +6 and he is a big, so 18. His storing presence. So yeah, totally 24, it's still okay, but still I need to pay attention. And if your opponent can kill the champion, also this will reduce the range from 24 to 18, which is something that you need to keep in mind. And also for the Commissioner, if you want to get BSB reroll, you need to pay attention to that. 1 unit of slaves. I wanted to try out the new Lugar with this new opposition research. I think it's called the rule, maybe the name changed, but you saw what was my idea behind this rule. What was my opinion, better said, what was my opinion regarding this rule. I think it's pretty interesting, and I really want to try out that. So I paid the Litigator option, really cheap, lot of strength 3 attack with lethal strikes and Litigator. Make sure that I still have hard target 1. I'm skirmisher, I have light troops, I'm not scoring anymore. I think I have enough scoring with 4 scoring units. Vassal Cav, which is my main chaff, 5 incarnates. Also really wanted to try out the incarnate as an alternative to the Gadim Titan that I use very often, with a champion, 5 anointed, with a magician champion, internal weapon and shield. My opponent was playing with General of Judaism, Beast Lord on Chariot, which is I think the classic build. He just paid the additional option that gives him reroll. I think the Beast only hits you on 6 up, which is pretty interesting considering the meta, and against Demon I think it's very good, and other stuff as well. So that was an interesting addition. Minotaur Chieftain with Resistance 6 and Regen, who is a Totem Bearer, so between Druidism and Totem Bearer you get a lot of spells, combat buff. 32 Mongrel with the banner +1 Franks, 2 Ambushing, Wild Horn, 8 Hounds, 10 Riders as unit to put the mage into, 6 Minotaurs with Black Wing Totem, 5 Gargoyles with Scoots, 2x1 Razortusk, and 2 Gortax. So yeah, you got some nice single model that can move pretty well and charge quite far. You got a solid Minotaur unit and also a Mongrel block, and then apart from that, a lot of chaff, 1, 2, 3, 4 chaff at least that you can use, and also then 2 ambushing units that are always useful on scenario and as well to threat from behind. So pretty interesting list. I think pretty classic at the moment for a Beastard. You see different things, but that's more or less something that you see maybe the most for Beastards. We played Dawn Assault and Captured Flag. First interesting observation, my opponent decided to give me the additional spell and not the channel, which was, I guess, the right decision, because I already have a lot of spells, and in this configuration I would have preferred to get the additional channel. So here you have my spell selection, here you have his spell selection. He took Summer Growth, resilience buff, a regen, and the blast, d6 strength 4 or 5 plus the totem. Short matchup analysis, because I didn't take too much time. I always try to reflect in this slide what is my thought process, what is my preparation before the game, and when I don't prepare much, I don't do a heavy matchup analysis, because I think it wouldn't be fair to notice here a lot of points and then during the battle that were points that actually I didn't really consider before the battle. So he gets 0 points from distance, meaning he will need to come forward, and also I think I can play pretty freely with my character because he has nothing from distance, so I can move BSB alone, move my bull alone, and if you see my recent games, I had to be hidden quite a lot, so I'm pretty happy to try out to play more freely with my character and to get additional combat threats, basically. He has a lot of chaffs, as I mentioned. It will be important to clean them as soon as possible to get board control, to avoid getting chaffed, and him be able to move very aggressively forward, vanguard chaff, and push forward with especially with Gortax. I guess start the game could be an advantage to ensure that he can't really do this kind of vanguard movement chaff and then be aggressive in turn 1. I have good tools to go in CC. I think if you consider the damage output of the Anointed, the BSB as well is pretty decent. Incarnate are a very good tool against the Gortax, I guess, because of the good initiative and the fact that I can easily get reroll to wounds. And the Lugar as well are pretty decent because they have a lot of attacks. So here's the deployment. It's worth mentioning because my opponent won the roll of the side, and I decided to force him to drop the Minotaurs before I start to deploy. So I put the Minotaurs here with the Lugar rule, and then I decided to drop everything to claim the first turn. So here's my deployment. I put Incarnate on the left, Anointed on the right. The idea was to be pretty strong on the flank. If he decided to go with 1 Gortax on each flank, I was feeling okay with that. Then I put quite centrally my Great Bull. Always like to play around an Impassable with the Fly. I think we have a lot of decent option. Here we have my Slave, the unit of Litigators, the Chaff, and then on the right, basically all my 4 scoring are here. So my thought process was, we are playing Dawn Assault, he took this part, I had this part of the board. So it will be hard for him to push this corner, and that's why I decided to block the ambush. So if he can ambush here or here, I'm pretty fine. And then I can, with all the amount of threat that I have on the right side of the board, yeah, be okay to defend. I have also a wall that I could use maybe later in the game. So I was, yeah, feeling curious how he would counter deploy regarding this situation. And he decided to go very heavily on the right side with 2 go attack plus the Minotaurs and the BSB within. A mongrel block is behind. Since we are playing flag, he's pretty cautious with his flag. And then you get the two tree chaff here a bit hidden in the back. And the Lord is here to block my incarnates, who are pretty good in the matchup. So I think it's a good decision from him to decide to block the incarnate that way. For me, it was important to have all my flags together, because basically I could always ensure that I can move back with my character to protect them, and I was feeling that that's maybe the most difficult part to attack for him, considering the deployment type that was Dawn Assault. My turn 1, I move forward to get range for a lot of spells and also threaten him a bit. And here also I move sideways, so I know that he will be able to zone me, but I can move to the side and force. Basically, I want to force him to look that way, so that then I can move forward with the bull and get interesting position to threaten around the house and maybe get some short range for Gravecall. And here I move slightly to the side, just making sure that he cannot come around and move out of arc. In the magic phase, so I cast a Mark for Doom on him, and I'm able to put 3 wounds, which is really nice turn 1. And then with a fireball, I'm able to put to kill 5 dogs. He passes panic check, so everything's fine. His turn 1, he moves forward with the dog to chaff me. I should have been more careful and be slightly more back, because he's just able to chaff me and go around with the go attack. It's not a big problem per se, because I have enough tool to deal with him, but I think that will force me to be very careful about him going around, and I should have been able to do more to prevent that chaff happening. And then regarding the rest of his movement, he doesn't move much. He makes sure to block the spot here, so that the Great Bull couldn't come to this spot and profit from that position by chaffing the Minotaurs and come forward to blast him again. And he moved his Shaman to be able to heal the Beast Lord. In the magic phase, he rolled D6 strength 4, killed 1 of the Vassal Cav, and then he was able to boost the charge range of the Lord. Of course, he healed 1 health point with the blast. I couldn't avoid that, and then I dispelled the +3 toughness on them, and with 2 dice against 4, he was able to get regen on the gargoyle, which is a bit painful, because to deal with them I would have liked no regen. My turn 2, I decided to move forward. I decided to charge with the Lugar against gargoyle, and then to push with the Great Bull and using my chaff. So I made sure that if he wants, here's my front arc with all these 3 units, and there is no way he could charge with the Gortak, because if he goes in a straight line and then turns, it's not possible because of the Vassal Cav, and if he try to wheel as soon as possible, it's not possible to contact my base. So I made sure he's chaff, and this unit is chaff as well. He can only go with the BSB and the Razor Tusk, which I'm perfectly fine to face. Here I decided to move to the side, leaving him with a long charge, and here I made sure that by moving the slaves, if he charged me, I can flee over everybody and end up in the ruin with the faint flight of the Lugar. That's something I checked before. I moved my BSB within the unit. I know he has to take a Discipline Frenzy 9 with no reroll maximize. Pretty interesting. He's likely to fail it. Probably 50% chance, more or less. I'm not sure about the stat, however, but I guess it may be should be slightly above 50. But yeah, and if he fails it, I want to be sure that I can kill him. So basically I made sure. I put the Lamassu behind just to be hidden and not get charged. I couldn't get any nice position to be within 6 to breast weapon him with the Lamassu. In the magic phase, I dispelled the Oakenthrone, then with the Fireball I'm able to kill these 3 guys, and then I tried to cast a Mark for Doom against on him. My opponent dispelled it, and I was able to get Flaming Sword on this one. I guess my opponent used the Binding Scroll on Gravecold to avoid me killing his model. And what else? Yeah, Flaming Sword on the Tauric Anointed. Basically, as I've told you, if he has to charge me, I want to be sure I can kill him. In the close combat, I killed 3 of them, and he flees. I decided to not pursue because I want to know how my flee corridor is. I could have pursued, actually, I guess. Doesn't change that much. But yeah, I decided not to pursue because I checked with my reform before, and he goes over the house, lose no casualty, which is painful because now he can rally with 9 rollable, full leadership. I could have used, actually, I guess, my breast weapon. That would have been much more smart to just place maybe the Great Bull like here, breast weapon on him, and maybe even not chaff all these units. It's also worth mentioning that the chaff faces the wrong way because he can charge me as well, and it would have been much better to have him in the front. Then I have a better option of sticking and then generating some additional frenzy test. So a couple of small technical mistakes which have some consequences on the game, I guess. His turn 2, of course, he charged with Razor Tusk. Chariot, I flee, he redirect, fails, long charge against Kadim Incarnate. Here he charged my chaff. And here he passes the frenzy check and goes around, but I guess I have enough unit to trap him again, and also I can move back the Great Bull if needed to deal with him. Because if you consider the overall map, I mean, I cannot attack only with the Great Bull. So, yeah, here I'm in the flip position. I turn around in a smart way. Just make sure that if I charge in, he can challenge and then counter charge. So there is no way I could get an interesting charge with the Great Bull. I'm still too far away from the Gortak as well. So, it's quite problematic, and I'm not sure I want to face a Gortak with the Great Bull with my very expensive character. He ambushed the first unit here in the back since we playing flag, takes no risks, and he'll just move around a bit with his Razor Tusk and rally the 2 fleeing guys. Magic Face, so he passed here all 3 frenzy check. That's also worth mentioning. It was also the idea to force him to take a frenzy, because maybe if he fails with 1 Gortak, then I can counter charge with these guys, which would have been interesting. Yeah, he passed the Oakenthrone, and then he was able to heal his Beast Lord, got a nice roll, couldn't avoid that. I consider the fact that he's pretty much out of the game at the moment. I will just move around, he will pretty much do nothing, I guess. So yeah, of course I would have liked to finish him with magic, but I know at this point of time that my Great Bull will need to move back to cast spell against this nasty Gortak and take these easy points. So that's why I let that go, and I dispelled some other stuff. Close combat, he did 0 to me, I did 0 to him, and of course with -3, I failed my check on a 6 with no reroll, and he catches me. As I've told you, facing the other way around, that would have been an 8, which is much more feasible, and could have given me possible openings, maybe. You never know. Would have at least generated some additional frenzy check, which is always nice. My turn 3. I set a trap, so I move out my Conjurer to chaff him, make sure the overrun brings him into my heavy vassal unit with Flaming Banner, just to make sure I'm ready to shoot at him to give him some incendiary token, possibly 2 if I make a hit. Since I have 3 or more ranks, I will give him 2 incendiary token, which is nice. Turn around them to just manage him. And then I decided to face forward with all 3 characters just to make sure he cannot really push forward, and I'm within Gravecold range to deal with the chaff. And here I just moved back with them, just going to win time. Unfortunately for me, I failed to rally them, just moved 2 inch forward, but I would have liked to use the Feint Flight and maybe be able to push in this zone. I would have maybe considered also doing other moves with the Great Bull, because if I had a way to put the Luga maybe in some other position, that would have been maybe interesting to do something else. But unfortunately for me, I wasn't really able to do so. I forgot about Magic Face. With a Gravecold, I'm able to kill him. What else did I get through? I dispelled the Oakenthrone, and then Mark for Doom did 1 wound on the Gortak, and I'm able to get 1 wound on the Gortak and put him 2 incendiary token, which is nice. His turn 3 is able to pass his frenzy check again, move out of arc, but fail march check, but he's still able to move out of arc. I could have positioned myself a bit more smart to make sure that if he fails the march check, I could still trap him with the Anointed. I think that would have been way better. He moves his Rathaster Chariot forward, and here he keeps a strong battle line, ambush the second unit here. As you can remark, it won't happen much in this game. We are already turn 3. Neither of us is really able to push forward, and yeah, that's a bit problematic. I guess this turn he could have had an option to move a bit more forward to ensure that he still gets counter charge if I charge against one of these 2 units if he wanted to. I think there was a possibility to play on the steadfast with these 2 units, because I'm just facing him with 3 single models and just make sure that he can get some good counter charge with the Rathaster Chariot. I think if he moves a bit more forward with them and also with Minotaurs, there was a possibility to be slightly more aggressive, considering the fact I have only single model facing him. In the magic phase, he gets 1 wound on the Luga with the Master of Earth, and then I dispel 2 times the boost charge range. My turn 4, just move slightly back and compact within range of Gravecall. I really want to target him with all my magic missile. This time I'm able to rally the Luga, move them back, and move them again to the side to threaten a bit the side, but I know I won't achieve much. In the magic phase, I use the Binding Scroll against Gravecall. I get a Fireball off with reroll to wound. I'm able to do 2 wounds, so I had to use both, because first you apply the D6, which uses 1 incendiary token, and then the D3, which uses the second instance, and then with the rest I put some additional token with the shooting. Pentagram did nothing, and also, yeah, I guess I put 1 wound with the bows on him. And then he had 2 wounds remaining, and I still had the breast weapon reroll to wound from the Lamassu, and I was able to get 2 6s, even not using the reroll, so I'm able to kill the Gortak and get some juicy points, which is nice in this kind of matchup where it won't happen much in the remaining turn. His turn 4, he moved carefully forward, and yeah, he charged the Luga, and I fled against the Razor-Tusk, because only like a 10 or 11 would have moved me out of the table, and I cannot accept him being in my flank, so I just fled this charge with the Luga, and the rest of his unit just moved carefully, stay in place more or less. In the magic phase, what did he do? Just put magical resistance on the Lord, and I dispelled, I guess, the boost of the charge. My turn 5, quickly. Nothing big will happen, as I've told you. Just rally the Luga and move them with the Feint Flight. Everybody's in position. I was able to get the Fireball and kill the Gargoyle, which was really nice, and then do 1 wound with Mark for Doom against this Gortak again. And I was also able to put an hereditary, so flammable token on him, just to ensure that maybe I can use maybe Flaming Sword with shooting, or I don't know, maybe a Fireball to just put additional wound on him on turn 6, we'll see. His turn 5, he charges the Orc Slave but fails, move forward slightly with the rest, and move the Gortak with flammable token just behind the hill, because I can't do much about that. In the magic phase, I was able to get a boost of the charge. I just Binding Scroll the boost of toughness, because I didn't use it before, and I guess that was a hit. My turn 6, I move, I cast a Grave Call on him, put 3 wounds, but not enough to get the point. He dispel Mark for Doom, and that's it more or less. And on his turn 6, he will kill the slaves, and that's the end of the game. So I took Gargoyle, Razor-Tusk, Gortak, and Hounds. Basically, mostly through magic. I just finished the Gortak with the Lamassu breast weapon, and he took from me the Slaves and Vassal Cav, which is a 12-8. So nobody took the flag, obviously. So yeah, not so interesting fight matchup, because both of us couldn't really be, weren't able to really engage and go forward. I think there were some options, maybe more for the Beasters, like I pointed out. I guess it was turn 2 or 3 that he could have maybe come a bit more forward. But I guess by dropping my entire army to start, Beast Herd was limited in the way he could be aggressive in this game. Flags, yeah, we needed both of us to protect our flag, and did that well, I guess. And since we had similar combat power and it was captured flag, yeah, we weren't really able to move forward, which was a bit frustrating. I was still asking myself, what could I have done differently? I think I was missing a second unit of slaves, like I'm mentioning here. I think to be able to move more forward, a second unit of slave on the right side of the board would have been nice to move forward and generate some additional frenzy and create some opening. A big unit or Death Star, but a big unit maybe of Warrior could also have been able to move forward in this kind of matchup, because you can play on the Steadfast and then ensure that you can get counter charge. I'm not so convinced by the Vassal Conjurer as Chaff, because I think he's very much linked to the Vassal unit position, and you need to put this position according to the objective, which is problematic, because depending on the objective, like in this game, I needed to be on the right side, meaning my Conjurer could only move 15 from this unit, which is problematic, because the Chaff, you need to have it where you need it. So I'm not so convinced about the idea of the second Chaff in the form of the Vassal Conjurer. I think 2 units of slaves and 1 unit of Vassal Cav is the best way to go forward to my taste. Lugar Rule, I think it was helpful to know where the Minotaur would go, but I didn't think it was a huge advantage in this matchup. He wouldn't have placed them differently if he could. So I think here in this game, not so overpowered. And last point, yeah, maybe the penetration of the Gortak, there is 2 ways to look at it. On one hand, the fact that he was able to push to the right side forced me to move back with my Great Bull of Shamut and deal with him. So that was one part of the problem. But on the other hand, he was pretty sure to lose the Gortak, because the fact that he has some frenzy with no reroll to take, he could have died 2 to 3 times totally between range damage, and then I kill him with range damage, but first of that he had to take 2 frenzy checks. So I think it was always going to be difficult to really get something from that penetration, but this ensured that I wasn't able to be more aggressive with my token hunted unit. So maybe that was also a parameter why I wasn't able to go more forward and create more opening. So I think there is 2 ways to look at it. So yeah, that was it for this first battle report with the new version of the army book. It was just a first battle, not so interesting match because it didn't happen much. I will promise you I will get more combat in my upcoming battle reports. Thanks for watching, talk to you soon, bye bye.